Oh my God, we're back. Today we're talking about Dyatlov Pass.
Oh, yes.
Weird news and things that go crazy. Stick around.
Dyatlov Pass.
What?
Dyatlov Pass.
There's our hook. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Paranormal Pass podcast. I'm your host, Josh.
Dalton Van Hooser.
And we are about to foray into most of the things that go weird. How you doing, Daltino?
Oh, hanging in there.
Yeah, everything's kind of weird. Have you noticed lately?
Yeah. Weird's a great word to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't worry. I sanitized all the microphones.
Oh, wonderful.
And the headsets that way. The only thing that's on them now is us, which sounds like a human resources violation right there.
Well,
I'm sorry about that.
that's all right.
We're moving on. All right.
right.
As always, we're starting with news with the Dalton.
Yes. So one little fun thing. Now, unfortunately,
Yeah,
a lot
what
of
do you
these, other than my last bit of news for the day, there's a lot of visuals that are kind of needed for this. But you're gonna have to go check it out yourself.
Okay. I'll try. I'll act it out while you do it. Okay.
So both of the. Oh wow, this is great. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the Animalian. These are both from Animalian.com, so you can go there to find them. Yes. The British Chancellor. He had these this binder suitcase thing that he's walking with down the street after he left for a summit on the Green Initiative. Summit may be a harsh or too strong of a word to use, but anyways, he's walking down the street and he's passes by a car. Uh-huh. He's walking by a parked car, and as he's the briefcase is red on the back end of the car. As he passes the front end of the car, it turns green. It is magically green. It transitions to green.
Is this bad video editing to make it look green for the big green meeting? It was all
That's what they think. That's what they think happened, which I think is terrible editing. A terrible editing choice for the news.
I mean, who cares? It's just a briefcase.
Yes.
It's just a briefcase.
Yes. And it's just like a really bad joke. It's like, whose idea was it to edit this footage? Yeah. To edit this footage to make this. It's like, this is a green initiative. Get it, guys? And it's like.
What producer's sitting there like, we got to change the color of that briefcase. He's got to look greener. I mean, we got to make it green. Everything green. Make it all green.
Yeah. And that's got to be the only logical explanation, but it's completely illogical. Like, I don't understand why they would do it. Because the first thing that I was thinking of, the first thing I thought of when I saw the footage was, was somebody in the car?
Yeah,
and
like
there was some
secret
switch out.
Right.
But that's not what happens.
No.
So if you watch it really closely, the change of the color of the briefcase doesn't happen until it passes the frame of the windshield. So he's passed both the doors. And then it changes, and so it completely. So it's just clever editing.
What a bunch of jackasses!
I know, I agree.
I don't care. What else do you have?
There was this was actually a little while ago, but it's gained a lot of traction right now. A man in Colorado took some shots of Bigfoot out of his window. Yes.
How was that?
The footage was, or the shots were okay. He did say that the Bigfoot was 6 feet away from the window, and the shots that I saw
far at all.
No, and the shots that I saw though looked like he was about 2 inches from the window. His face is right on the window.
How big he must have been. Where can we find that one? I want to go look.
This is also on Animalian.
God,
yes,
that's right.
Yep. It was a Bigfoot lurking from the window, photographed in Colorado, -- across each of those words. That's your URL.
Could you imagine getting up one morning and like, I'm going to go make my coffee, just kind of stretching, and then look out the window, and it'd be scary enough to see a person staring at you?
Yeah. That'd be horrifying.
That would freak me out.
Oh, yeah.
But imagine that it's like some giant crypto that's just staring at you now, and it's just
staring at you.
Watching you like, what are you up to, partner?
Yeah. And of course, the first thing that he experienced was he smelled like rotting flesh and feces and just a horrible smell, which is a common thing for them.
Always,
I don't know. They never shower, and they maybe
they've got a musk gland or something that makes them stink.
Oh,
they've got something that actually.
They must have musk.
Must have musk.
They must have musk.
Did you mention the perfume?
That'd be great. That'd be great. Bigfoot.
I'm wearing Bigfoot today.
Oh, he must have musk.
Oh, it's a good one.
It's their tagline.
I like it.
Yep.
What else?
So there's this really cool study going on right now, which is also at the same time simultaneously horrifying.
Oh, good. Good. This is what we're all about.
That there are some researchers that are looking into senescent cells. I hope I'm saying that right.
Cells, okay.
And basically, they're these kind of toxic cells that everybody has in their bodies that age a lot faster than the rest of your cells. And they spread that toxin to surrounding cells and make them age faster as well.
Really?
So the idea is, if we can remove these cells, somehow make them to where we can program them to self-destruct, we can either slow the aging process or even reverse it.
What?
Yes. Which, if you're getting into cellular regeneration and cellular restructuring in that sense, now you're going down Umbrella Corporation Resident Evil
This
territory.
feels like something bad is going to happen somewhere down the line.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. We're not designed to be immortal.
No.
And so I feel like there's always going to be bad consequences.
And the thing is it's probably going to be the ultra rich that can do it. Because you imagine a Jeff Bezos living forever.
Oh.
Think about that. Because it's always the rich ones with billions of dollars. It's like, yeah, let's start this therapy tomorrow.
Trump, Gates.
Name them. Name a billionaire, and they could last forever. Any one of those really rich sheiks in the Middle East.
Yes.
Just families living forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
That'd be crazy.
Warren Buffett.
Oh, yep. Now, and like,
My
but you see him like reverse age, so then he'd be Warren Buffett at 20, you know? Because
I don't think man was ever supposed to have something like that.
Nope. Nah, I don't think so. Kind of reminds me of that movie In Time with, who was that?
Oh, In
Justin
Time?
Timberlake?
Yeah.
Was that Justin Timberlake? Yeah. Where like the dredge of humanity, they like 90%, they're just like trying to live day by day because they have this little timer, but the rich have
trillions
tons of time on their
hours, right?
that they can live forever. Anyway, yeah.
Creepy.
Yep. And that is it for news, sir.
That is creepy. We all know the other news that's going on around us, but we're not going to talk about it because it seems to be dominating everything these days.
Yeah, happy times.
But just remember, wash your hands, distance yourself from people, and live life, guys. Just
try to be happy.
Order some takeout. If you didn't know,
there you go.
Our community now has this new restaurant initiative where we're trying to let everybody who is a restaurant know in Colorado that we will let you advertise with us for free. All of our core products will be available to you. You just head over to ourcommunitynow.com, wait for the pop-up to show up, and get signed up for that now. If you're a restaurant, we want to let everyone know that you deliver. So please help us help you.
Yes.
Sorry, it was a plug, but it's so important that we keep
no,
restaurants
that's really
going.
good.
There's so many people that have lost their jobs right now, and I want them employed. I want them advertising. I want people ordering takeout. Order takeout, people.
Yeah, I mean, economically, and everybody needs to eat, so...
Yeah, and you're going to get tired of all of your shelter food. I mean, there's nothing like the nachos at Old Chicago.
Pork and beans. You just got to get them cans of pork and beans.
Give me a pizza any day.
There you go.
Pizza any day. So today's subject is one that when I first heard this, I was pretty young. It was always in one of those, Time Life mystery book series. Did you ever get those? That's what kind of started me into the path of reading some of this stuff. And one of them was and I'm probably going to butcher the name, so correct me if I'm wrong. It's the Dyatlov Pass incident.
Yes, the Dyatlov.
Yes.
Yes.
It was in the Ural Mountains between February 1st and 2nd in 1959. Under uncertain circumstances, a bunch of experienced hikers and trekkers who were all from the Ural Polytechnical University established a camp on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl? Man, Russian's
fantastic.
hard.
Yes, it is.
And what had happened is all of these individuals mysteriously died. And not only did they mysteriously died, the circumstances in which they left has been the subject of all kinds of
debate and theories and conspiracy
theories and guesses. So it's the Dyatlov Pass incident, and it's weird.
It is weird.
It is weird.
Yes.
So what do you got?
So you've got the 9 hikers, as you said, that were very experienced. They've done this thousands of times, I'm sure, hundreds of times.
One was even getting his master's at the time in orienteering and hiking, wasn't he?
Yep.
Which is crazy because these people knew what they were doing. Let's start there.
So they went, they were supposed to arrive at their point, and obviously they did not arrive in a timely manner. So a search was conducted. Now, if you didn't get it from so far as we've been talking, they all died.
Yes, they did not make it.
Yes. So it took about 3 months for them to recover all 9 bodies.
Right.
So let's get into the nitty gritty of it. They were found about a mile from their campsite in a nearby forest. The campsite itself appeared to have no footprints or coming or going that couldn't be determined to belong to the 9 hikers.
Right.
There was no sign of struggle around the campsite. Then this is the most weird bit of information. The tent was cut open from the inside, and most of the winter gear, if not all, and clothing was still inside the tent. Very few of them were properly clothed and geared when they were leaving the campsite.
So they panicked, they cut their way out, and they ran like hell, for lack of a better
Yes.
term.
These 6 of the hikers died of hypothermia. 3 of them died from injuries. 2 were found under a tree by a tree line, and
Near
they
a campfire.
remains of a campfire. They had burnt hands, which I would probably associate with the hypothermia. They couldn't feel their hands, and they got closer and closer to the fire.
Absolutely.
3 more were found hundreds of feet from the tree line in dispersed intervals. It was believed that they were trying to return to the campsite. One of the men had a small fracture in his skull, but it was determined that it was not the cause of death. It was still hypothermia for him.
It wouldn't have been a mortal wound, but certainly had some sort of head injury from who knows what, falling.
Yes. Yeah.
Who knows?
Now, other than one incident on one person, as far as I was aware, all of the injuries were internal, no external injuries. So the fracture showed no external injuries. It was just internal. The other 4, the remaining 4, were found in a ravine, another 250 feet away from the camp, from the fire site. 2 of these hikers, these were the ones that were the really weird ones. 2 of these hikers were found with fractured ribs, and again, no external injuries. And another of those 4 had a major skull fracture with no external injuries.
Which is always, it sounds really weird. You usually get hit on the head. There's some sort of
bruising,
pre-mortem brooding,
even bleeding, because you know that kind of an impact. There's going to be some type of external injury to that.
Like, if it was a large pressure,
yes,
it would have blown out eyes, ears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of weird pressure issues there. So it's really mysterious as to why they had all the cracks in the skulls, even all the trauma.
Yes.
As a matter of fact.
Yeah. The internal injuries they said were the equivalent of a car crash. That's what they said. That there was even if they had gotten into a skerfuffle with one another, it doesn't equate for the day. It doesn't.
You would have also seen
account for the
defensive
damage.
wounds. You would have seen offensive wounds, and there just wasn't any of that on there.
Nope.
Now, this is also in a time before their cell phones and stuff like that. You're talking about 1959. So the time frame on this is a little longer than what we expect, because once they went missing, it was 2 days before they sent emergency people out.
Yep.
Which wasn't uncommon. So, folks, when we talk about this, you got to remember that time frames on this stuff, it was not uncommon for people not to come back within X amount of time.
Yeah.
So, and they just couldn't call for help. I mean, so you got to imagine that it makes the thing even more mysterious.
It does.
So they just disappear.
Well, we found them eventually, but we don't know why. It's just, this is so weird. So now there was one instance, of external injuries. One of the women that was, I believe, one of the 4 in the ravine was missing her tongue, lips, and eyes.
Yeah, and I think they attributed that to maybe predation by animals,
which makes a lot of
birds.
sense. Yeah,
it would, because I've done some of that forensic stuff in college. And, that one right there tells me that they were scavenged on, meaning that they were frozen there long enough, for that to have occurred, but certainly wasn't the cause of death.
No, it was of those 4. I mean, like, they were the 4 in the ravine, I believe, were the last ones to be found because they were under so much snow. So they had to wait for it to melt, and so by that time there was a chance they could have been scavenged.
You're talking about alpine like mountains. It's tough stuff. I mean, this is a really hard hike on top of it. I mean, this is a real technical course, and they clearly investigated it.
Oh yeah, and it's been done before, and there were people up there. Yep. Yeah. So and they were supposed to be reporting to a settlement that's at the point. So like there are people that live up there on the settlement in which they were trying to go to. So now after a relatively short investigation, they were determined to have died of a compelling natural force, is how they called it. That's what they called it. And then the case was abruptly closed after that. Witnesses far off, this is another little tidbit. Witnesses far off say that they saw eerie lights in the distance near the Dyatlov Pass area around the time that the hikers were expected to have died.
That causes 2 things to happen. When you immediately close it and you're in a communist country,
yes,
right away the idea is that they're lying to us. Take off like that.
Yep.
In a snap. People are like, well, they're not telling us the whole truth.
Yes.
Because you're talking about the old USSR, and you know how forthcoming they were with information.
Yes, and usually the leading leading areas, directions that you go off in the conspiracy theories of them, they're immediately lying about something is either they found out they did it, and they may have done it on accident, but they determined that they did it, and they're like, let's cover this up because we can't do anything wrong, or they found something that was very important, unique information that nobody else in the world may have, and they're like, "Oh, quick, shut this down because we want to have this for ourselves."
So let's just hide this evidence now before the world finds out.
Yes.
And the second thing that happens when you have these witnesses saying that there was something eerie and unexplained going on at the same time, suddenly a whole new slew of stories pop up.
Yep.
So the conspiracy theories just start flying left and right. You've got a really secretive communist government and a whole bunch of people seeing things that can't be explained is just the recipe for
This.
the eerie. Yeah,
And we have this, I think, one of the funnest things. Okay, I'm sorry. This is a terrible thing that happened.
It did.
But
but in these circles, it's a pretty
it makes very
interesting.
fascinating. Yeah, it makes it for a very fascinating. And one of the most fascinating things about this is that it has some of the largest, reasonable, like somewhat comprehensible theories of like any other. Because like there's just little bits and pieces of all the facts that fit into certain things, but none of the facts fit into one. And it's just it's crazy. So there's a theory on KGB agents. Now, the reason that this one became fairly popular is that that there were actually times in the past, previously, in which people had been supposedly murdered on this pass.
Oh, by the
because
KGB?
Yes,
Oh,
that
'cause
they
it's so
were
easy to
actually
hide everybody.
Yeah, that there were hits out on these people. So they were like, let's go on a hike to this area. Now, it wasn't called Dyatlov Pass at the time. What?
They are university students. And
Yes.
some of those
So it's possible that maybe there was a hit. And that maybe not on all of them, but maybe one or two of them.
one person
and they
was
were just
there
like,
and there's six
yep,
of them, the
gotta take 'em
KGB
out.
did not mess around.
Yes.
The Spetsnaz would just...
Yep.
don't
Now,
mess around.
KGB, also there could have been maybe an experiment or something happening on the mountain, and then they walked upon it on accident, and then the KGB took them out.
Yeah, or the experiment itself just was the cause of death. I mean,
Yes.
it could have been a really odd weapon that makes you go crazy.
Yeah.
Which the Russians were really into making weapons that make you go crazy.
Oh, yeah. Now, the Mansi people, the local people that were a
Yes.
part of that area, they were attributed to
Questioned.
maybe, yes, they were questioned
See
about
if
it.
they were responsible for the death themselves.
Yes, and it did not appear that it appeared that the group was very respectful because this is where the village is where you kind of take off from the Mansi village
Yeah.
into the, as I
And
understand it.
they were already used to people being there.
Yeah.
And if they didn't want you there, they had a tendency to let you know.
Yeah, they'll let you know. And so that one seems unlikely. And now again, the
Plus,
biggest,
there was no tracks or anything that would
Exactly.
have tied them to it, right?
Correct.
Because there was just tracks from the group itself. Because if you had another group come in, there would have been at least some sign indicating that people came in and took swipes at them,
Yes.
for lack of a better word.
And again, the injuries don't follow along with that because there
Sure.
weren't any external injuries. There wasn't a sign of struggle around the tent. So even if the Mansi or the KGB did a fantastic job of stepping in their footprints to track them down, which is KGB in particular, I could see them trying to pull that off.
You know,
but
I've done snowshoeing professionally.
Yeah.
And you would still leave. I mean, snowshoes leave behind bigger tracks, not as deep, but they leave bigger tracks behind.
and these people are running around in their feet, bare feet, some of them.
And then if you were being pursued, you would see it. I mean, assuming, well, by the time a lot of investigations came in and stuff like that, maybe the snow track would have been covered, but there would have been some evidence
Yep.
that remained. But still, that would be nearly impossible not to leave a track unless you could fly.
Yeah. So just a couple of other ones that were pretty they were just kind of tossed aside. I mean, the Yeti, unfortunately, that one seems unlikely because again, there weren't any footprints they could have done that.
Right.
An avalanche was suggested, which covers a lot of the
Yeah,
a lot
it
of the
does.
things, but it still is missing a handful of things because I feel like you'd still get bruising
And there'd
from
be a
that
lot
impact.
of snow. You'd have had
And there was
tree line
there
would
wasn't
have been
enough snow.
destroyed.
Yeah, there wasn't enough snow.
And the area wasn't even really known to have enough of what they call the I forget
slabs
the
that-
angle.
yeah.
You know? And it just
do that.
wasn't known. In fact, they had picked the area because they knew that it wasn't susceptible to avalanche.
Yep.
Because these were experienced mountaineers. And one of the other ideas that I heard is that they thought they heard an avalanche coming. You know, maybe they did hear another avalanche happen in the distance. They thought it was coming. They had to get the hell out of there, so they cut their way out of the tent and tried to make their way to a tree line.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. That one actually kind of, you know, of all the plausible ideas, that one kind of gets me thinking it's most likely the case. But again, there was no other avalanches in the area.
Yeah.
So what were they hearing? What was going on?
Which that actually comes to one of the theories. There was a thing called infrasound, in which
Yes,
there's a wind phenomenon that hits. It's called the Kármán vortex street, which could have caused the hikers to go into an irrational fear. It's apparently a crazy loud sound, and it can the frequency and vibration in your head can really mess
Anything
with you.
loud will have a tendency to freak you out. I mean,
Yes,
even
especially
being-
waking you up in the middle of the night.
Oh gosh, and if it was like a sound you'd never heard before, the amount of panic
Yes.
Would have been tremendous.
And then somewhat related is the Catabolic, one of the two, wind.
Yes.
And it's a devastating wind phenomenon that can suddenly produce hurricane-like winds that descend down a slope. So maybe it could have even been a combination of those two things because those are both wind phenomenon. And I've been told that the Dyatlov Pass area would be prone to both of those types of phenomena. That could be possible.
Very much so. Those two would be the most likely if you had to pick one.
But let's get into the last, or there's two that are fun that we haven't talked about yet.
Yes.
We saved one particular fact about this thing.
Yes, what would that be?
What about UFOs? This would explain the sudden panic. It would explain the light seen in the distance. It would explain the lack of footprints. It would explain the internal injuries sans external injuries. And it would explain the last fact that we didn't mention earlier, which was that their clothes had radiation on them.
Yes, and they were all had a higher than normal background on all of them.
Yes.
All of their clothes, even the tents and some of the snow in the area, as I recall. I'm not sure on that one, but at least their clothes did.
Yep.
Which I always I want to go towards the UFO one myself. Of course. But even if you just did see lights in the sky and they were getting close and they felt like they were dipping towards you, would you not freak out?
Yeah.
I mean, I would not just sit there and as it were.
Now, for those that would like a more realistic explanation that covers almost every single one of the elements, I came across this particular theory, which I think fits really well. Parachute mines.
So it would have been military is what you're
saying. A military test, and they just, they did the wrong area and failed to check whether or not somebody was there.
Well, this was the Soviet Union. They would just kind of, big spot, blow up.
Yes, this works perfect.
They go now.
Yes. So basically, they were designed to harm soldiers and structures with the shockwave from the blasts,
which would make a lot of sense with the internal injuries.
And they're released above the area, which would explain the lights. They were first used by Germany in World War II, but there are those that believe Russia was experimenting with versions of these parachute mines in the years following the war. It would explain.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep, it would explain the fear-induced panic from the tent. It would explain the injuries to the few hikers. It explains the lights seen above by the witnesses.
What about the radiation?
That's the only thing it doesn't fully explain. But if this is a decade or two, this is a decade and a half after World War II, it's possible that they were experimenting on a different version of the parachute mine that may have involved some levels of radiation.
Yes, because if that explosion didn't get them, if you were to release enough radiation, you'd quote kill them later.
Yep.
With the radiation exposure.
Yep.
Because that'd be the idea.
Yeah. So that's the one that seemed to be most plausible to me, and it also explains why they wouldn't want to bring it up, because they're like, oops, we accidentally killed them ourselves. They're not going to tell the public that, especially Russia would never have brought that up.
In
fact, America wouldn't really bring that up either.
No, and we've had some pretty horrendous tests of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And we've never talked to anybody about it.
Yep.
That's horrible.
That was all I had.
Somebody claimed that it was just some sort of mass psychological hallucination that they all experienced at once, and that forced it.
Yep. I don't know. It really does. And like some people think that they may have gotten into a fight, but again, there's no sign that they got into a fight.
And you would have seen a struggle. There would have been more than just tracks, because when people fight, they have a tendency to roll around on the ground. There would have been blood everywhere usually.
Yeah, and all 9 wouldn't have left the tent in that case. Like even if 2 or 3 of them got into a fight, make it 4. If 4 of them got into a fight, you're telling me that 2 or 3 of them wouldn't have stuck behind him and been like, we'll chase after him, but let's get our gear on first. They all took off.
They are experienced mountaineers. They would have known better. In fact, these were a group of friends.
Yeah.
It would take quite a bit for a group to get to this level of madness to kill one another.
Yep.
It's
Pretty
weird,
intense
folks.
stuff.
I encourage you to read more about this. They did do another investigation after the 1959 investigation back in 2015.
Yes.
To try to round
Bring
up
some
everything.
light to it. Yeah.
And really, that's where the infrasound and the mass hallucination comes in. I mean, even when they reinvestigated it, they have no clue as to what went on.
Yeah.
They only ended up naming the pass after.
Yes, because I believe it's named after the lead hiker. That lead individual is his last name. So it's
It's actually a terrible story.
It is, but it's just so
weird,
fascinating to what could have caused. Because it's also something you'd want to be aware of because hiking happens all over the place. And I guess that's something else that seems weird, is that there are instances of this case that may appear in other missing hiker situations, but not all of this.
Right.
This is all very unique to this particular case, and it makes it very interesting.
I'm of the opinion it was something Russian
Yeah.
military. But I really would
what it
love
was.
it to be UFOs. Even if they were benign, they were just hanging out in the area.
Yep.
They get freaked out. Or UFOs have a tendency to have interest in hikers. How come is it that when people are out in the middle of nowhere was when they have their UFO encounters? Like out in the middle of the city.
Well, no, because they're. I mean, like if they are some level of vulnerable, like if they have vulnerability to
Most
something,
likely.
yeah, then they probably don't want to be just in the middle of
Right.
a bunch of people, and then somebody decides to.
I'd hide behind my technology too.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Great story. So do you have any movies
I do.
that are associated with something like this? Tell us.
I
Tell us
do.
all about it. More.
So I have one in particular that's it's actually about the Dyatlov Pass.
Oh.
But it's terrible. So it's called Devil's Pass, and it's a fictional representation. It's basically a group of people, a group of Americans that go to Dyatlov Pass to try to solve the mystery on their own.
And it happens
And then
to
they
them
come
too.
across like a secret base, and there's these like teleporting creatures and that like guard the base, and
Right.
it's
Gets
not
to be a
based
little
on
too
any of
much.
the facts.
So it's
There's
a bad
no basis. Factually, it's terrible. Horror wise, it's okay. It's
Well,
passable.
horror-wise, you know, it's
Passable. So that was the main one that I found that was about Dyatlov Pass. The other ones that I just decided, let's talk about some other
do
Russian
it. Yeah.
horror movies. So Chernobyl Diaries is another one.
I've heard of that one.
Yes,
Never watched it.
It's a found footage horror movie, and
That's right.
at like on a. It's pretty decent on like a surface level horror film, but also kind of verges on insensitive depending on your perspective of the incident and how that went down.
Sure.
So I mean, there were times when I was watching that movie where I was like, I don't know how this makes me feel.
I love the found footage concept because
Yes.
it makes you think that somebody actually went and did something, and then you find this evidence and it shows everything that went horribly wrong. But they always find a way to screw that up.
Usually,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, what was the last one with the giant monster?
Cloverfield. Love Cloverfield.
I know, but you know how much shaking was going on during that movie? I got motion sickness. I was like,
They were just running too much in that one.
oh.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you, though?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This one is called 3: The Ritual.
3, the
Yes,
ritual.
3. It's Roman numerals.
Ah.
Colon, the ritual. I believe in Russia. I believe it's just 3. It's just the Roman
Just 3.
numeral, or Roman numeral. But the it's a Russian film. Okay, so with the occult it's got occult themes to it.
Ooh.
So it's kind of this dense, trippy, dark fantasy that it's kind of hard to follow. I feel like for me, as it's outside of that culture, it was difficult to follow. But visually, picture something that's like a mix between The Cell and What Dreams May Come.
Oh.
But like dark, What Dreams May Come. So
Creepy.
it was an interesting movie.
It is.
But it's kind of even hard to explain really what it's about.
Is
but
it worth
it's
checking out?
visually, I think so. I mean,
Okay.
it's a decent watch. Like you get a lot of fun philosophical takes, and it's about this girl that follows her sister into her subconscious to try to cure this disease that she has, and a priest helps her do it. And but then it starts heading down
I
some
love
stuff
The
where it's
Cell,
hard to
too.
understand.
That was a good
Oh,
movie.
I love The Cell.
It was a great movie. I remember when it first came out, I was like, man, this is kind of cutting edge.
Super disturbing,
Plot-wise.
but really good.
Oh, boy. Vincent
D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio?
Yeah.
He is something else. Another fine movie that he was in, and it was J-Lo.
Jennifer Lopez, yeah.
Lopez was in it. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, that was so long ago. I'm getting old.
And Vince Vaughn, I think, too.
Oh, was Vinny in there?
I think he is.
Wow.
Another one. This one's pretty fairly popular. It's one of those popular series from Russia. The Night Watch, Day Watch films. Night Watch and then Day Watch, and they're kind of like akin to Underworld a little bit, but not just werewolves and vampires. Like there was like a shape-shifting Bengal tiger in there.
Were
and like
tiger?
like a were-tiger.
I gotta watch that.
All sorts of goofy stuff in those movies,
were
but they're pretty
tigers.
fun.
Yeah.
Now this last one is the biggest mystery of all.
Ooh, why?
So a while ago, I was reading an article
Yes.
about a Russian film that was very similar to The Thing, which is one of my favorite horror
Oh,
films.
yeah.
And they put a trailer out for this movie, and I watched the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, this looks amazing! It looks so good."
Yeah.
And I was so like the practical effects, and
Yeah.
grotesque
And you're
monster
waiting
things,
for
and I'm
this
like so
thing.
excited. And I send the link to a friend of mine. I'm like, "You got to watch this trailer." Got taken down.
Why?
And that was about a month ago, and it has not come back up. You can't find anything about it, and it's driving me insane.
What was it called again?
Now the movie is called The Super Deep, which
Super Deep?
which is actually based around something that we will probably do a topic on one of these times. That's actually about the Kola super deep borehole, which there are some really fun myths around that. Yeah, there's a really fun legend around the super deep. So it seems to have a kind of a basis around that, but it's got this kind of the thing type approach to it. And now, if you want to go look it up on your own, it's KOLA super deep borehole. And there's that. Now, the true story is much more boring than the fun fantasy. Yeah, that's the one where they dropped the mic. They supposedly dropped the mic into it and heard the people screaming from hell. Yeah. It's good stuff.
I hope that hearing comes out because, I don't mind watching. If it's a good movie and there's subtitles, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Especially if the
I'm all over
practical effects are all over it. Plus the idea. And The Thing. God, I love The Thing. The original The Thing with Kurt Russell and that whole crew.
Yes. Not the prequel that they did in 2015, I think it was.
I didn't understand that.
No.
Anyway.
But.
Well, cool.
Yes.
You got anything else for us in our audience?
That's it. That's all I've got.
God, I love it when we do these things. So if you guys haven't checked out yet all of our other shows that we offer, not just our shows, but other OCN products, feel free now. Check them out. Double feature, OCN Eats.
Parental
composure.
Which I always mess that one up. What did I call it last time?
They just produce them. I don't know.
What did I call it last time?
Parental guidance or something?
It wasn't a good thing, whatever I said.
Head over to ourcommunitynow.com. Just click on the media tab. It'll show you everything we have, videos, podcasts. Plus, if you head over to the website now, it'll have all of your favorite feel-good stories, informative stuff, and there might be a talk show coming out here soon that will be live across all channels, maybe every other day. I don't know. Think about that.
And then we're going to report on site eventually.
We'll
get to that.
So there may be a ghost hunting expedition that goes on here shortly.
Absolutely.
I'll be the scientist. This will be the skeptic.
Yep.
What? But stay tuned for what comes up. So, guys, for everyone who helps make this possible, thank you so much to our producer, who is an invisible ghost that sits behind the glass. She is currently making a bunch of art up front, but we appreciate that because she's a lot of fun. We'd also like to thank everyone else who makes this possible, starting with our bosses. Without you, we wouldn't have jobs. Thank God we still do.
Yes,
hey!
Very much so.
I like what we do. I am Josh Hammerling. This is
Dalton Van Hooser
saying thank you for listening to the Paranormal Pass podcast. We will see you soon.
See you.